What's up, guys? Today I am finally going to get a video done that I've been trying to do for quite a while. Actually, we're going to be doing the rack and pinion on this 99. Okay, so start off by loosening the jam nut on both of the tie rods, because you'll need to remove the outer tie rods to be able to pull this rack out. Then I'm going to move on to the lower nut that holds the tie rod to the knuckle. I have already removed the cotter pins that hold them, but make sure you remove that before you try to take the nut off. Then if you hit the knuckle a few good solid times, you should be able to jar this loose. Try to avoid hitting the stud at the bottom very much, because you can actually mess up the threads and not be able to reuse the outer tie rods if that's your plan. Then unscrew them and count how many times you unscrew them, so that you have some way to know how far to put the tie rods back onto the new rack. So that's what I'm doing right here. With that out of the way, the next thing I did was lower the back of the subframe by just taking these bolts down. I wound up taking them completely out and just using the jack to make sure the bottom of the subframe didn't fall. But getting that down nice and low makes a big difference in being able to get to everything. Once you got that lowered, you need to unplug the electrical connector from the variable assist, if your model has that, and that is located right here. It's kind of hard to see. Yeah, this next part was really hard to show, so I'm going to try to talk you through it. Right up in here, there's a big boot over the top of the rack. You have to push this straight up enough that you can get to a bolt that's right inside, which is an 11 millimeter. You're going to take that bolt out, stick a pry bar in there, and pry the steering shaft up off of the rack. With that and the electrical connector here unplugged, which was right over here, the only thing left to do is your two mounting bolts. Then you're just going to take an 18 millimeter socket from the outside, and you may find at this point it easier to take the sway bar bushings out so you can move the sway bar around. You're just going to get it out here with that, and on the inside with an 18 millimeter wrench, because there'll be a nut on the back side. Then just pull the nut and bolt out by wiggling the rack and pulling back. Then pop the rack up once they're both removed, and that may require a pry bar. Then you just got to work it out the driver's side. I see a clip. Once you've dropped it down enough that you can reach it, you're going to remove the upper lines, the pressure and return line from the rack. Which are both 18 millimeter nuts. The next thing I'm going to do here is just comparing the two units. I just want to look and make sure that these are clocked the same, because you'll notice that this shaft is keyed. It will only go in one way. Make sure it looks like it's centered, that the two match. Everything else looks good here. Probably going to slightly lube the sides of this bushing, because I know it's going to be tight going in. And then I'm going to remove these, and then the rack does come with new cotter pins and new O-rings for the lines, so I'll get all that ready too. Okay, so since my GoPro died and since I needed both hands to do this anyway, let me give you a run through of what I've done here. I got the new rack pushed back in. You may have to spread the bracket on that side a little bit, because it's very tight going back in. Then 2/18s to tighten that down. 2/18s to tighten the bolt on this side down. I've done both of those. So now I've got this much. I've got the electrical connector plugged back in. So that's done. So the next thing I'm going to do is lift the subframe back up. And as I'm lifting the subframe back up, I'm going to reconnect this steering shaft. Okay, here is the steering shaft up close. I took the upper boot off so I could show you guys how this goes together. You've just got your U-joint here. That slides down over this. Do not turn the steering shaft while it is disconnected, because you can damage the clock spring. But this should line right back up if everything is centered correctly, and you just run this one nut back in here, and that's all there is to the top. And once everything is back together, the only thing you really need to do is, what I do is turn the steering wheel back and forth all the way lock to lock a couple times without starting the car. Then start the car, do the same thing, check your fluid level, top it off. It'll probably be whiny for a few minutes. All you need to do there really is just turn it back off, let it sit till it gets some of the air bubbled out with the cap off, then top it off again, restart it, see where you go from there. Now, while I was down there, just a little side note, I also reattached this dipstick tube finally, because I was able to get to that bolt from the bottom. So a little added improvement there. I've got to make some final adjustments to the tie rods next, and then I should be pretty much done. And that is it. We are done with the rack on this. Stay tuned though, because this is not the end of what I'm doing to this car. I'm about to get right back into it, and the next video is going to be pretty exciting. We're doing something pretty fun. So drop this video a like, comment, let me know what you thought, or any other questions you have about the procedure, and then make sure you're subscribed, because the next video is going to be a good one. Thank you so much for watching, and peace.